NWA Power episode 23. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I do believe I'll be releasing this on a Wednesday, but I'm not sure. And this looks so dark. Hang on a minute. Let's bring that up. Okay. Episode 23 was available for me early in the morning, Wednesday morning. You know, Power's done on Tuesday, and I'm able to see it. Well, the first one wasn't available until Thursday. This one is available early Wednesday. So now the Impact is moving Thursday. And I thought if I couldn't get NWA on Wednesday or late Tuesday night, I would have to do this on a Friday. But it looks like whoever is doing this hopefully will be releasing them every Wednesday morning. So you guys will probably see it Wednesday morning. And I'll probably release it if I can, because I still got to go to my doctor's or go shopping or something. It should be released on a Wednesday or be released on a Thursday morning. It just depends on my schedule. Episode 23 of Power. What was this show? Well, taking away from all the botches from the camera work, which you see right in front of you, which I noticed when I tried to do Impact, there was a lot of it. So I'm not going to shrink them down. That takes a while. So you're going to see them big in my face. No, over here, big in my face. So I'm sorry. But you get to see all the botches that came in the show for their camera work, which was dumb. They still don't understand how to do the camera. But admittedly, at first, the first 20 minutes or so, the camera work actually looked quite good. But then as it began to drift off near the end of the show, it began to become bad. So at least I will say for Power compared to Impact, the beginning actually wasn't too bad of the camera work. They started switching properly. They actually zoomed in when they needed to, at least to a certain extent. And then it tapered off to being sloppy. There you go. Opening, we had the national treasure of Nick Aldis. Now, if you didn't see my Gump Report episode 7, I suggest you look at it, because it does talk about him thinking about what's going on with dealing with Dynamite and AEW. So take a look at that. But he is making it clear how important he is and how he has a sickness. Now, let me get into my preacher movement. My brothers and sisters of wrestling community. We here in the wrestling community have a sickness. This sickness takes our mind, our heart, and our soul away from God. As you would say with God, I do the Great Spirit. Away from God. And this sickness takes us away from God in a way that can never be done, and that is wrestling. And in case of Nick Aldis, he can't lose. His sickness, he just cannot lose. He puts over himself. And Strictly Business with the Chris Adonis from last episode. And Dave, he did make it clear. What's going on with you and Adonis? Is he now Strictly Business? He says no. Just because we talk to each other and we have several things in common does not mean he's Strictly Business. You got to do a lot to get in Strictly Business. And he ain't it now. But then you get Murdoch coming out, who got his ass handed to him last week. He came back this week. He's angry as hell because he got hurt and pretty much Adonis took money from him and his family. He made it very clear when he went into Aldis' own segment. He said, look, I ain't disrespecting you, but I got to say this. I ain't going to wait. I want Adonis. I'm going to put my title on the line. No DQ, no countouts. Come at me, bro. I want this. And Aldis gets a bit upset. He said, look, I understand you're pissed off, but you have no right doing this. But I can see your spunk. I can see your fire, and I can see that me and you have a lot in common. And guess what it was? Do you know what it is? And he says, what is it? He says, well, we both have a love for wrestling, and we were both trained by the great Harley Race, which both of them were. But he did say clearly, you know what the first rule of wrestling the Harley Race taught us? Do you know what that is? And Murdoch was not getting it. He says, what? Always watch your back. Adonis whoops his ass, knocks his neck directly into the turnpost of the ring, and he's laid out until the end of the show. Because he does wrestle at the end of the show. I'll say it was a good segment. Murdoch talked pretty well, but the national treasure, Nick Aldis, talks better than him. He just has that flair. He has that fire. He has that passion. Not taking anything away from Murdoch. I actually like Murdoch. It's not the point that you think Murdoch is an old style wrestler that, yeah, he was trained by Harley Race. He ain't that good. He's a fat old man. Come on. Come on. He does have something to contribute to NWA. And I like that. Now, we had the interview between Stevens and Kronos. Now, if I'm pronouncing Kronos wrong, sorry. Kronos. I think I'm pronouncing it wrong again. I've only seen the guy a couple of times. It takes me time to really get his name down. I know he sounds like God of War, but I've always badly pronounced the God of War's name. Kronos. I'm bad with names. But the point is, they have a video segment. They have it with a May. And I got my thoughts on May and Velvet Sky and Melina in a few minutes. But she interviews them. They really question about, well, Stevens' question, do you feel bad about what happened in your last match? That you lost? And he said, look, I'm dedicating my life to Jeff Jefferson. He really cared about the guy. So he's dedicating, at least for now, that he is going to be dedicating his life to wrestling. The question mark, his friend, he's dedicating it that. Now, that counts on how long it's going to be until he changes and goes to a heel. But he makes it very clear. He's going to dedicate his life to wrestling and do it right. And these titles are prestigious, him and Kronos. And he made it clear that this is important. That these will be elevated to a higher level than they are now. We're going to keep elevating them. And then Sully comes out. And he confronts Stevens and pretty much says, Aaron, I respect what you say. I remember about Joseph. I love the guy myself. And I'm thinking, life is short. And I'm not too young. Why not have a little bit of a chance for me? I want those titles. And he says, okay, you want them? Okay, you got it. But he makes it clear. You better bring your damn aim game tomorrow because this is not a joke. This is not meant for little children. This is NWA. And Kronos says, leave. That's all he says. Now, how do I feel about the tag team and how it's going? There's a good possibility in time they're going to break them up and bring two new people in to become tag champions. And those two will eventually clash. It looks like it, and eventually you'll go there. And you know what? That's okay. There's nothing wrong with a predictable storyline as long as it's executed properly. That's many people's problem. They don't understand. It's not about having new, fresh storylines that you've never seen. This is about dealing with well-established types of storylines and making them look good. You can have a good versus evil. You can have two partners turn on each other. As long as you build it correctly, it doesn't matter if it's an old age story. As long as the old age story is told well. Now the question is, can these two tell it well? I don't know. You guys tell me below. Now, Punic versus Boogie. What is it? Punic? I think that's his name. Punic. Or Phuket. Versus Boogie. Was this a good match? Well, here's the thing. When I look at Slice Boogie, I see someone green. He is green. I don't know how many years he's been in the business. Could be 2 years, could be 5 years, could be 8 years. He feels green. He just does. Mind you, the guy's from Queens. He's from New York. He's got the Mets stamped on his ass. Which I'm still a Met fan. I may not watch the baseball much anymore, but I always still love the Mets. Yes, they suck. Yes, they never get anywhere. Yes, they had one shot in 2003 against the Yankees, and they folded. I'm saying it now. They folded. They just collapsed. They stood no chance against the Yankees, and they've never been able to reclaim it yet. But I still love the Mets. Because they try. They may never succeed, but they try. And in this situation with him, he is trying. But it feels like he's trying too hard. And it's coming off in his match. because he's trying to make his attitude and his ring work mean something way more. There's this, I believe there's this saying in wrestling, at least this is what I've heard once. To make it look good, you don't think about it. Yes, you still have to plan out the match and know your role. But when you get in that ring, it should come natural. You shouldn't have to think about how you're going to be acting, how the match is going to go, how your opponent isn't doing what you do. You try to make it flow. Now, mind you still got to think, but you got to let it think on automatic, not manual. The more you think manual, the more you mess up. And I feel like this guy isn't there yet. He did win, and that means they are interested in Slice Boogie. But as it stands now, I haven't seen enough of him to see if this is just him beginning to start out and trying to develop a character that will work for NWA, or he's just really green and he really doesn't have a good idea of how to make a character work yet. Hopefully the people there will help him to develop. That's just me, guys. Tell me below. Now, let's go to the women's tag. Thunderosa and Garcia versus Blue Sky and Genocide, who is wearing the face paint. Now, here's the thing that I was just thinking, that I was mentioning earlier. When it comes to commentary and interviews, I don't feel like Velvet Sky is really in her role, at least not yet. She's got to develop into it. She does feel like she could develop into a good commentator before she transitions back into ring, if ever. And she needs to transition. That is a gorgeous woman. Bully Ray, I hope in real life those two are happy together and he does not screw it up. Unless she screws it up, I hope he doesn't screw it up, because I've heard that Velvet Sky is actually really a sweet person. And I hope he doesn't fuck it up. But, she's gorgeous, but as a commentator, she just feels very lacking. She doesn't really give an emotion. Then you have May Valentine, who's just as gorgeous, but she doesn't feel like she can be an interviewer. She just doesn't have that personality. She feels more like she could be a manager than an interviewer. And then you have Melina, who was a commentary for this match, who felt like a commentator, who at one point when Thunderosa went and pushed Blue Sky into the turnbuckle where Garcia was, and she whacked her chest real good. You could feel the passion in Melina's voice. She said, "Oh, damn. I'm sorry, baby girl. I had to do this even though I love you." You could feel that a Melina would be more better in that role than a Velvet Sky. But then when you hear how Velvet talks compared to a My Valentine, not my, I'm thinking about, I'm thinking about Cowboy Bebop. And I love me some Cowboy Bebop. Who wouldn't? But, sorry. If you know Cowboy Bebop, me and you, we friends. Because I still love the Valentine. That you know who I'm talking about. But the thing is, wouldn't it be better if May was a manager? If Velvet Sky was the interviewer? Wouldn't it be interesting to see a Melina as a commentator? If you're not switching out Tim Storm yet, and you're leaving Joe Gillen there, wouldn't it be better to have someone who feels like she can commentate? And it is Melina. So the match itself was actually good at first if you could watch the chain wrestling. Unfortunately, what you saw beforehand, and I will show you that Blue Sky's nice ass, she's in my face, this is what you got at first. The camera work was bad because you could not see the beginning of the chain wrestling between Melina and Blue Sky, which is actually, for what little I could see, was quite good. Blue Sky is a very good technical wrestler, and I'm not saying this is Thunderosa, this is Blue Sky. I do believe you can see the difference. Blue Sky may be a little more earlier than a Thunderosa in the business. But you can see that eventually she could get up to here. But then by the time she gets here, Thunderosa will be here. But that's okay. That's how the business works. But it feels like that. Now, in the end of the match, you get Camille attacking a Thunderosa. She spears her ass. Fine. I'm alright with that, because you wonder how far they're going to go with Camille. because right now Selena Deeps is still injured and she's rehabbing. So there's nothing they can really do right now with Selena Deeps. She's not there. So they're going to have the number one contender deal with someone from the company. That will probably be Thunderosa. But then you see Melina going into, well, I felt like Melina's trying to use a Thunderosa. She's trying to get back into her graces of Thunderosa. And she runs over to her and tries to defend her. Thunderosa's not having any of it. She's trying to stop her. And then you see Camille face to face with Genocide. Both of those women are pretty damn big. So does that mean Genocide and Camille are going to have a match next week? That's a possibility. You might. Or you might have the Camille, the Genocide versus the Thunderosa and the Melina. That's a possibility. That looks like it might be. Because she's going to have a tag team partner. And that might be where they're going. At least for next week. I don't know. You guys tell me below. The person I love so much. Oh, that is Ace Idol. The guy just makes me feel like he should be in a commentation instead of Tim Storm. And I love Tim Storm. I do love Tim Storm. But if you compare Tim Storm's attitude and flair compared to an Austin Idol. This is Tim Storm. This is Austin Idol. He is a gift of gab. That is where he is. And I hope they put him on commentary more often. He just has it. He may not really do color commentation very well when it comes to the match itself. Tim Storm is much better than that because he's straight. But if you need someone for a gift of gab most of the time, or at least periodically, put an Ace Idol there. And I still want to see the Universal Wrestling College get somewhere, baby. Yeah! But he brings out Tyrus, who goes up against, now who is the guy he went up against? Mims. M-I-M-S. Mims. This match wasn't very good. I'm sorry. Mims was not the issue. It was Tyrus. Tyrus was supposed to be a monster, and he could barely move around the ring. I'm sorry. Tyrus looks ring rusty, and it shows. I still like Tyrus. He talks very well on his own. He has a personality. But as it stands right now, his ring work doesn't look good, guys. I'm sorry. Memes look good. He looked fine. And then when Tyrus wiped him out, instead of him just ending the match, he teases and pulls his head up off the map after he does a power slam to him. Or basically a Mark Henry slam. Dragging it out didn't look good because he still looked tanked in the damn ring. By the time it was over and he chokeslammed Amin's ass, and then he was, I don't think I got that shot, but he was stupid enough to try and do push-offs. He tried to do push-ups on Meme's throat and chest. Well, he had him right here. He had him on the chest. And he could not even push barely off at all. It looked terrible. Look, if he had been muscled out, he could do the push. No problem. But he couldn't even barely even lift off the mat. He was holding himself and barely going like this. It just looked bad. He needs to get in better ring shape. I'm hoping, and I'm saying this because we know they do tapings. This is like, they probably do 4 or 5 tapings at a time. I believe so. At the GPG studios. They probably do 4 or 5 tapings at a time. You go away for about a week or 2 and then you come back. Hopefully when he comes back after the 4th or 5th taping, he'll be in better shape. He'll be willing to work the ring better because he just looks tanked. I'm sorry. Now we got the Pope and we got Fred Roser, former Darren Young. I liked him. Primetime players with Titus O'Neil. I love Millions of Dollars. You see him by himself, working 19 years in the business, knowing the Pope, D'Angelo De Niro. They got some interesting chemistry. In fact, the chemistry between the two, the way they talk to one another, you know, I love your daddy, but when it comes down to it, you were having a problem when you first started out, and you asking the little bit of Pope like myself for a little bit of advice and help. Now, I'm always going to be there for you, but when it comes to this TV championship, you ain't going to get it, baby. But I'm willing to give you a shot because I love you. That is the type of gab Pope does. And Darren Young's a straight guy. Just basically said, you know, I know you, Pope. You're the man. I love you. But you know what? Seeing you like this, you pimping, you looking good, you looking buff, but it ain't going to make a difference when I'm coming for your title. These two feel like they could be a tag team. As weird as it sounds, I would like to see Fred Roser with the Pope as a tag team. They just feel it. Now, they could be good as a challenge against one another, but seeing them together, I get this strange feeling they would actually make a good tag team. You guys tell me below if I'm right or not. If they ever tag together, or do you believe they should tag together? Because as it stands right now, the Pope having a television title, he's going to be going up against him. It doesn't seem like it'll be a bad thing, but it does feel like it should be a tag team, not a one-on-one versus. Finally, you get the match of the night. Now, you see the gold standard. I love the guy. I love that Sweet Charlotte. Give me Sweet Charlotte, and I can hang it on my wall. I may actually try and get a title one day. I don't know. Count on whenever I can leave this damn apartment and not have like a small little area that I have to film in. But if I could, I would get a title, a real one. Maybe pay $100 or $200 for it and actually have one. And I thought maybe Sweet Charlotte would be a nice title. You guys tell me below what you think. WWE? No. Maybe the IC title, the white one. But anything else? No, because there's a joke there. AEW, maybe. Impact, maybe. Or TNA, maybe. But NWA has this strange feeling of majesty because it's the oldest title that exists. No matter how much you want to say that NWA has been crappy and almost zero relevant, and in some cases it is still irrelevant, and it's working back, it is the oldest title that has still been presented internationally and nationally. That's my feeling about it. Now, you got Murdoch coming out in a neck brace. That just shows signals that this ain't going to go well for him. You got Tim Storm being talked down to by a national treasure, Nick Aldis. And then you see a Chris Adonis literally destroying a Murdoch and then winning the title. And you wonder, is Adonis strictly business? Nick says no. It takes a little more than that. Was this a good show? It was okay when you take away from the camera work. As I'm going to make this very clear, you get the botchiness of the camera work. Flat out being disgusting in some cases. Here's another ass from a ref. I believe I got 2 shots. It irks me that how bad the camera work is in these companies. That they believe they need to do close-up shots to make it relevant when you know a majority of people are still home and you make your money that way. Look, I'm not against anybody being in the arenas, but you got to care and cater for the people at home because now it's more than they used to be, even though they're beginning to come back. But seeing this, it wasn't a bad show. Austin Idol is the best part of the show. Melina being on commentary was very good. And I'm wondering how, if you take My Valentine away from any interview and you put Velvet Sky as one, would it be better? And would My Valentine be better as a manager? Tell me below what you think. Have a good day. Have a good night. Peace, and watch for my Dynamite review. And the Gump Report will be coming out on Thursday. Peace.